How did I end up here? Lying in your arms, watching city lights and the stars.
At this point in time, it's pretty redundant to say that Friday Night Funkin has been a huge hit since its release in November of 2020. Like, damn, it's sure popular. And how could it not be? Enthralling and addictive rhythm-based gameplay akin to DDR and Parappa the Rapper, a charming art style, a burgeoning story, and a catchy as hell music. It's easy to see why it's been so successful. I'm sure it's something the devs are super proud of, as they should be. And most amazing of all, it's absolutely free. Crazy. Recently, a Kickstarter was made by the crew behind FNF for a full version of the game because, yes, the current game is only a demo, believe it or not, and at the time of writing this, £1,263,484 was pledged of its £43,180 goal, so yep, this game ain't slowing down anytime soon. And one of the things promised in the Kickstarter was improved mod support. If you know anything at all about FNF, then you're surely aware that this modding scene is probably one of the best out there for indie games in general, and yeah, it really is super strong, and that's why I'm here to talk about it today. FNF has so many good mods out there, so many of which add entirely new scenarios and characters for you to rap battle against. So you can imagine that it's been super difficult for me to pin down only 5 to talk about here, but I think I've done a good enough job, so I can only hope you approve. Well, this is an opinionated video obviously, so it doesn't matter if you do either way, but enough of me digging myself a hole, let's just get to funking. These are my top 5 favourite Friday Night Funkin mods. Real quick though, because my PC is a brick in terms of capability, the gameplay for the mods won't be mine, so everything will of course be credited. On with the video. Probably the most story-driven mod in terms of ones that add on to your already existing lore of the base game. The vs Tabi ex-boyfriend mod has you battle against the ex of Gia. There was a mod that was a reskin of the mom fight, pitting you against boyfriend's ex, Ayana as she's called. So it's easy to say that maybe this one was inspired by it, but vs Tabi is a whole lot more than a simple reskin mod. First off, as mentioned, there's an actual story to it. Boyfriend and girlfriend are heading to a restaurant for a date when they bump into GF's ex, Tabi, a character created by Homsky, and things proceed to go downhill from there, as you would expect such a situation to. All ending with Tabi blowing up the restaurant in his attempt to defeat BF and making GF's daddy dearest suffer for what he has done. It's pretty interesting overall, a lot more so than what you would expect. I also want to get this out of the way real quick, but Tabi looks like some kind of Undertale fan character. Not that there's anything wrong with that, I think he looks pretty damn cool. I just thought I'd bring that up. Doing research on him though, I couldn't find anything that suggested such. But hey, considering how huge Undertale was and still is, it wouldn't all be a bad thing. Getting back on topic here though, this mod is great. Its overall scenario has 3 new songs included: My Battle, Last Chance, and Genocide. Again, all being kind of Undertale-esque in their naming motif. Okay. I'll stop with the Undertale comparisons. We're not here for that. Anyway, out of these 3, War Crime is probably my favourite because of its intensity in the said scenario, as Tabi is at his limit and doing all he can to end BF right there and then. However, as you can probably guess, out of the rest of the mods on this list, I think the set of songs is comparatively weaker. That's not to say they are bad, because they aren't. But in the grand scheme of things here, the song list obviously matters in this context because, well, we're talking about a rhythm game here. Overall, a strong mod, but one that lacks in the music department, but only one compared to everything else on this list of course. You probably knew going in that this mod was going to be on this list. Could be predictable in a way, but Ballistic just goes really hard, man. Just skipping straight to the point here, the Whitty mod is home to one of my favourite songs in the FNF modding scene, Ballistic. You've most likely heard this one around once or twice, whether you're involved in the FNF community or not, and yeah, it's just an amazing piece that goes super hard in my opinion. The Whitty mod, created by sock.clip, Nate Animate, and KDev, also has 2 other songs of course: Low Fight, which is an amazing pun on the lo-fi genre of music, and Overhead. I don't honestly think much of these compared to Ballistic, but that is a little unfair in comparison. So as standalone songs, they are pretty alright. Between the 2, I prefer Low Fight, if only for my already existing love of lo-fi music. It's also kind of funny how much of a stark contrast there is between Lo-Fi and Ballistic, the first and third songs respectively. Much like the vs Tabi ex-boyfriend mod, vs Whitty does have some lore to it as well, being that Whitty is an ex-rock star who's had a troubled past with GF's parents, especially her father, Daddy Dearest, as seems to be the case with most antagonistic rap battle opponents in the FNF modding scene. We even see him ripping up some kind of poster of BF at the start, showing his hatred for our protagonists. As for a final note, ever since the Whitty mod was released and was an immediate success, I've always thought that Whitty was reminiscent of a Newgrounds creation. Newgrounds, if you want aware, is one of, if not the biggest user-generated content platform on the internet, founded by Tom Fulp in 1995. I mean, we've seen a few Newgrounds creations appear in FNF mods up to this point, such as Tricky from the Madness Combat series, so what I'm trying to say is, for a design to convey that of a Newgrounds creation, that's a pretty damn high compliment. The name of this mod is pretty self-explanatory. You're facing off against the Hatsune Miku, who, funnily enough, in the lore and canon created by the FNF fandom, is supposed to be BF's older sister and... yeah, I can see it. This mod is pretty much what you'd expect, in that you're facing off against Miku with her songs playing, and to be specific, the ones chosen are Papipo, Aishite, Suck It Up, or SIU, and, of course, the one that goes hard, the Disappearance of Hatsune Miku. Now, as an unabashed fan of Vocaloid, I think very highly of this mod. And hey, despite two of those songs being dark and otherwise depressing when you go to look at the lyrics, they are really good to rap battle with apparently. There's a lot of bias here obviously, but I do generally think this is a really good mod, pushing my bias for Miku and Vocaloid in general aside for a second. First off, these songs are incredibly well charted, and the little animations Miku has for her singing are incredibly well done, especially the one where she drops the mic and just goes ham on BF with TD. OHM. In some ways, you may question my decision for putting this mod above the Whitty one, or even versus Tabi because of how it's using already existing assets in terms of the music, but I don't know, what can I say, it's my list. I just think it's a really well put together mod that takes advantage of such an otherwise obvious but fun concept of Miku being BF's sister. It's great. I'm just gonna jump straight to the point again here, this mod is awesome. Seriously, it's so damn cool. It's kind of difficult for me to put into words just how much I like the versus StarCatcher mod, honestly. But for those unaware, it's essentially a reskin of the base game, along with remix pieces of your already existing songs, to sound more Interstellar-like, if that's even a thing. Created by Heartlocker and Criminality, with the music composed by Almost Comical and Stardust tunes, it's honestly something I strongly recommend you go check out for yourself, instead of listening to me ramble on about it for however long. So, yeah, I may be skipping out on this one somewhat here, but seriously, just go check it out for yourself. It's so good. With how I'm talking about versus StarCatcher, you'd think it's number one here, but no, not quite. I mentioned in my first video game variety hour video how Cervantes' Midfight Masses was my favourite mod for FNF, and yeah, it obviously still is if we're here talking about it now. It was probably predictable if you saw that vid and have been watching this one, but nevertheless, I can finally explain why this is my favourite FNF mod. Created by Doki Doodles, Mike Geno and Kuroa Anonymal, the overall scenario in the mod takes place at a church where you're first confronted by Savante, or Sav for short, who attempts to convince you to join the church by facing you into rap battles. However, after the second one, her close friend, Ruvzivat, or Ruv, then steps in, where the intensity level increases tenfold because of how Ruv's voice alone makes the surroundings crumble. Seems somewhat standard for a scenario, but Midfight Masses actually has a fourth part to it, making it unlike other mods. Here, Sav reveals her dark secret and transforms from a nun into a succubus, so there's that. Oh, and while I'm here talking about succubus Sav, stay with me, apparently in the files of this game, the cutscene where Sav transforms is titled Peg Me Please, and the name of the sprite is Smoking Hot Babe, so are they wrong? While the scenario itself is pretty interesting in its own right, it's, of course, the music that is the main attraction here. Parish, Worship, Zabadila, and Gospel are all amazing pieces that also happen to be super catchy, especially Gospel. However, the best one is Zabadila. Call me predictable for saying that, but it's just how it is. It's an absolute banger. All in all, it's a very well-rounded OST, all being bangers in their own right. Initially, when I first came across the mod, I honestly didn't think Sav's singing was that potent. But I guess that's the point to be such a stark contrast with Ruv's singing. So in that sense, it's good sound design. There was also an April Fool's update for the mod, which added Sullivan, the non-canon son of Sav and Ruv. He has one song, Casanova, and it's alright. It's basically a slower version of Zabadila that also has a slightly higher pitch to it. It's an April Fool's update at the end of the day, but the fact that devs went to create such a thing for their mod, it's pretty admirable. The music, the scenario, the characters, they're all great. And that's why Cervantes' Midfight Masses is my favourite Friday Night Funkin mod. In this video, I highlighted only 5 FNF mods, my favourites, but I know this should go without saying, there are so many other mods out there for you to check out. Can't play them yourself, like me? Well, simply go check out Gencoin's channel, a channel I used a lot while preparing for this video. They cover FLF mods almost daily, and they're a great source for checking out the amount of creativity this amazing community has.